Well, it's been a historic day and really season for the Supreme Court of the United States, of course, topping it all off, this decision on presidential immunity. Now, my next guest wrote, quote, Trump largely wins on immunity. Court rules the president is not above the law. Joining me now, Judicial Watch, their president, Tom Fitton. And Tom, you go on to say that this decision blows up the Biden gang's January 6th case and the absurd Fani Willis case. So explain to us how it works, because it feels like it still feels maybe ambiguous to some degree when it could be applied and when it can't be applied.
Yeah, when you look at the decision, they talk about his communications with the Attorney General and Justice Department officials. They say that can't be second guessed. He's immune from prosecution for being president. And he's presumptively immune for some of these other activities that are now the subject of prosecutions there in Georgia and here in D.C. Over the electors. And in order to get those, in order for Jack Smith to pursue those claims, Smith does all sorts of hurdles put there by the court to rebut that presumption.
Right.
You know, they can't get into the president's motivations. You know, there has to be this understanding the president has a right to speak and from the bully pulpit as president of the United States. So I don't see how an honest prosecutor versus the political prosecutor that Jack Smith has been would look at this decision and come to any conclusion other than the game's up. I got to give it up. We can't get to a prosecution here. In the least, if they decide to continue to harass Trump, certainly we're not going to have any results of that harassment for maybe a year or two.
You know, what's interesting to me also with the case is that with some of what I was able to read is that they say we want a president to be loud and to have a strong voice. And if the president thinks that the election has been undermined in some kind of way, to speak up, not just for him or herself, but for future presidents and for our republic. I thought that was really very telling. You know, it was interesting also, you had a lot of anonymity, right? Unanimity, right? I think 15 cases were unanimous out of 18, and this whole thing blew up, right? The liberals are going nuts on the court. Does that somehow mitigate the decision at all?
I think the leftist response is a little bit over the top, and this is not a surprising ruling. I mean, the idea that you can't prosecute a president for being president ought not to be a surprise to people. And they don't prosecute presidents when they're in office for acts as president. And to prosecute a president the day after he leaves office, it kind of makes that initial immunity meaningless, doesn't it? Congress is immune from prosecution for official acts, more or less, the speech or debate clause. The judiciary is immune. And it's no surprise that the court found that the president is immune for his official acts as president on his core duties, and probably immune and presumably immune when he's talking about issues of public import that impact the nation. Right. And certainly it would seem to me, if they're going to keep on fighting this, the president talking about a federal election and it be done correctly and honestly, from his perspective, how is that not part of the ambit of presidential powers and his right as president to ensure the laws are faithfully executed?
Yeah, I was really thrilled personally with the Chevron deference, the SEC Jerkasy ruling. It just feels like maybe the Supreme Court has taken it upon themselves to take back, the three branches of government, right, to take back what rightfully belongs to judicial and legislative branches, and that they've somehow lost over the years. Just your thoughts on that, just a sort of rebalancing of the way the founders, the structured, our government, our system of government.
Well, it's interesting. The left is complaining about the president having these extreme powers to do whatever he wants. And then they attack the Supreme Court for curtailing the executive branch's powers to arbitrarily make up rules as they go along in regulatory areas, not subject to court scrutiny as they should be under our constitutional system. And then, of course, you have the jury trial rights asserted on behalf of those victimized by the administrative state. So in many ways, these are big victories for civil liberties. And, the separation of powers, the president being allowed to be president, the Congress being allowed to be Congress, the courts being allowed to be courts, those were set up by our founders to protect our liberties.
Yes.
So this is a way to protect our constitutional system And I just hope that Garland reads the writing on the wall, shuts this down. Frankly, that case in Miami may go out as well, given his decision-making on the documents occurred when he was president.
Yeah, great stuff. Hey, Tom, thank you so much. Appreciate it, walking us
You're
through all
welcome.
of that.